In May of last year, the Recording Academy, the organization behind the Grammys, hired businesswoman Deborah Dugan as their new CEO. They were in some pretty hot water after misogynistic comments from previous CEO Neil Portnow sparked public outrage, and they needed a more diverse figure to come in and lead the organization to a more progressive mindset. Portnow resigned, and Dugan was selected because she is by all means a pretty great woman. This video is brought to you by CuriosityStream. You can get extended video cuts, exclusive shows, no ads, and support the creators directly when you sign up for a yearly subscription of CuriosityStream for just $15 and get my Emmy Award-nominated video platform Nebula included for free. Dugan's father founded the Peace Corps, and she followed in his altruistic footsteps, spending the first half of her career split between practicing business affairs law on Wall Street and doing volunteer work for the Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts in New York City, representing artists for free. After moving further into the arts, she ended up the executive vice president at Capitol Records, working closely with artists like Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Joan Baez, and Tracy Chapman in the late 90s. After working her way pretty far up the music industry ladder, she became the president of Disney Publishing Worldwide, overseeing more than 275 magazines and generating $1.8 billion for the company. She's actually the person responsible for that awful Artemis Fowl movie, even though it didn't come out for more than 10 years after she acquired the series for Disney. After working at Disney, she moved to become the CEO of Entertainment Rights North America, a company that at the time owned the rights to hundreds of American characters like the Lone Ranger and Where's Waldo. After entertainment rights, she worked as the CEO of Red, that one company that makes red iPhones and also has raised over $600 million for the purpose of fighting HIV and AIDS in Africa. While she was CEO, Red began partnerships with massive companies like Snapchat, Nickelodeon, Bank of America, and Salesforce. She worked for Red for almost 8 years, while simultaneously contributing to Huffington Post and Forbes on the side. In 2017, she was awarded the Nelson Mandela Changemaker Award by the PTTOW Creative Summit. And then the Recording Academy fired her after less than 6 months on the job, just 10 days before the Grammys. According to Recording Academy PR, she was fired as retaliation after an assistant who had also worked with former CEO Neil Portnow filed a complaint that she had a bullying managerial style. But according to anyone with half a brain, she was actually fired for writing an internal memo with intention to expose the corruption and abuse going on within the Academy. In her memo, she accused Joel Katz, a lawyer for the Academy, of sexually assaulting her during a work dinner. She accused the Grammys of having a corrupt voting process, writing that there are secret committees that decide the final candidates for awards and often give priority to artists they have prior relationships with. She wrote that in 2019, Ed Sheeran and Ariana Grande were snubbed for Song of the Year, and honestly, I can see that being completely possible. Dugan also wrote in her memo that she rejected a request from the board to give former CEO Portnow a $750,000 consulting job at the Academy. She wrote of a sexist boys' club atmosphere and that she was paid significantly less than her predecessor. She also said that the board notified the press minutes after they promised her that they wouldn't publicize her administrative leave. And that's just a small number of the issues Dugan wrote about in her memo. But rather than address issues, the old, stubborn board at the Recording Academy fired her in what was basically a coup before she could even run her first Grammy Award show. A source told Variety she may have been asking questions like, why is the board so large, and why are we spending so much money on certain executives and expenses? There were people who had been there for years who knew they were going to be let go, and they knew that they wouldn't get as high paying a job anywhere else. Ultimately, the story of the Recording Academy's first female CEO and president is a sad one. She tried to make progress in a corrupt environment and was fired by a group of corrupt executives who would stop at nothing to keep their bloated, wasteful salaries, rather than move the music industry forward and make a compromise. In the words of Dugan's legal team, the institution's practices highlight tactics reminiscent of those deployed by individuals defending Harvey Weinstein. But this happened a year ago, so why am I talking about it now? Well, it seems like a lot of what Deborah Dugan tried to bring to attention in her fateful memo is finally coming into the eye of not just industry insiders, but music listeners as well. 11 months after being put on leave just a week before the Grammys, and 8 months after being fired, the integrity of the Grammy Awards has been called into light once more after The Weeknd claims that he was blacklisted from the 2021 awards because the Recording Academy wouldn't let him perform at both the Super Bowl and the Grammy Awards in 1 year. They were going to take away all of his nominations if he chose to play the Super Bowl instead. And while the Recording Academy may deny any and all negative allegations, it seems clear that there's some serious blacklisting and corruption at play. So let's get into it. First things first, I think we can all agree that The Weeknd is pretty much having the biggest year of his career so far. Blinding Lights is his biggest song to date. After Hours sat at #1 for over a month, the first album since Drake's Scorpion to do so. It also sold over 450,000 units in its first week. Visually inspired by movies like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Uncut Gems, and sonically inspired by dream pop and new wave sounds, The Weeknd took his career to a whole new level in popularity and quality. It seems like Abel would finally see some major Grammy wins. After all, he's never won in a major category before, despite almost a decade of international success. But he wasn't nominated for anything. We found out why pretty quickly when The Weeknd immediately tweeted out that the Grammys are corrupt in a post that now has over 1 million likes. As details emerged, it became clear to all that the Grammys snubbed The Weeknd for one simple reason. They wanted him all to themselves. You see, this year, The Weeknd will be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show. The halftime show is one of the highest possible honors for any musician, and naturally The Weeknd wants to do it. But he also wanted to accept the Recording Academy's invitation to perform at the Grammys. After a few weeks of negotiations, it was supposedly decided that he could do both shows, but for some reason it just didn't end up working out. It's hard to know exactly why and how The Weeknd ended up not getting nominated for any awards at all, especially since the president of the Recording Academy categorically denied the allegations, basically saying, "We're sorry that you're upset," in the most condescending way possible. He also claimed that voting on awards ended way before the Super Bowl performance was announced, but in my mind, his word is about as good as mud, considering what Deborah Dugan wrote about the Academy changing nominations long after voting had finished in the memo I talked about earlier. Ultimately, though, this is nothing new. The Grammys are dumb as fuck and don't reflect good music at all. This year's nominations for Album of the Year are some of the worst I've ever seen. Black Pumas, Jacob Collier, Haim, their work isn't Album of the Year material. Hell, I didn't even know Coldplay still made music. Meanwhile, Justin Bieber's awful record got 3 nominations, Fiona Apple's album was snubbed despite being the highest rated of the year, Halsey was snubbed, Harry Styles didn't get any big nominations. They ignored Lil Uzi, Mac Miller, and Run the Jewels. Even Pop Smoke was ignored despite being the biggest new artist of the year. His debut album spent 2 weeks at #1. That's a pretty big accomplishment for a new artist, yet Noah Cyrus got nominated over him. But none of this is new. It's been known for years that the Grammys only want to award music that can be played in Target, or at least it seems that way. Hell, it's bad enough that there's an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to addressing racism in the Grammys. It's on that page that I learned only 10 black artists have ever won Album of the Year since the Grammys were invented in 1957. From 2007 to 2017, only one non-white artist won Album of the Year, and it was Herbie Hancock's Joni Mitchell cover record. In recent years, Beyoncé lost twice to white artists. Frank Ocean lost to Mumford & Sons, but worst of all was when Macklemore's The Heist won Best Rap Record over Nothing Was the Same, Magna Carta Holy Grail, Yeezus, and one of the best rap albums ever, Good Kid, Mad City. But Grammy elitism isn't just limited to race. In 1993, a cover of a 20-year-old Eric Clapton song won Best Rock Song over Smells Like Teen Spirit. Kings of Leon won Best Record over Lady Gaga and Beyonce. And worst of all, Steely Dan won over Kid A and the Marshall Mathers LP in 2000. Elitism at the Grammys has been going on forever, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. In decades past, massively successful artists like Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, and more have rejected Grammy recognition, while today Frank Ocean and Drake choose to not submit their music to the awards. In 1989, the first year that the Grammys included a rap category, they ended up not televising that section of the awards to hide it from the general public. As a result, all of that year's nominees, including Will Smith, LL Cool J, and Public Enemy, ended up boycotting the awards for that year and several after. Why is this? Because they're limousine liberals. Urban Dictionary tells us that limousine liberals are a special crowd of wealthy leftists that follow a simple principle: do as I say, not as I do. They're the people who advocate for bikes and buses while riding around in Ubers or taking private planes. They'll tell you to air dry your laundry and invest in solar while using more electricity in a day than you use in a month. They advocate for gun control while employing armed security guards for their gated communities. Hell, the Urban Dictionary page even calls out Bono for meeting with world leaders to advocate for starving kids in Africa while keeping his money in an offshore Norwegian account to avoid taxes. Bono, of course, is the guy who started the charity that Deborah Dugan worked for many years. Even Deborah Dugan, the whistleblower of corruption at the Recording Academy, can't escape the pull of being a virtue-signaling white capitalist who makes money off of charity. But the original topic of this video wasn't supposed to be about racism in the Grammys. However, I realized while writing the script that corruption and elitism and racism at award shows like this are two sides of the same coin. They both arise from a desire to keep things the way they are, aristocratic and elitist. These issues represent a rejection of change, from the board at the Recording Academy firing the CEO who wants to address issues of unfairness and excess, to the awarding of poor quality music in exchange for favors, to the shutting out of an artist who didn't want to give them his exclusive attention. The Grammys aren't a reflection of excellence or quality. They're a reflection of what fits into the Recording Academy's narrow elitist vision. Their status is based only on how much attention they get, and they continue to make corrupt judgment calls because they have such a status. Whether you're the CEO of the entire organization or one of the biggest artists on earth, the board will do to you what the board wants to do. They want to keep business running as usual, and that involves protecting excessive costs, awarding their friends over those who deserve it, and shutting out those with a mind of their own. Hell, you can basically buy a Grammy if you kiss enough ass. Like I said earlier, it's music that you can play in a Target. Haim, Jacob Collier, Black Pumas over the weekend. Seriously, the Grammys are some bullshit. My YouTube channel, Volksgeist, doesn't make very much money off of ads. I barely make $500 or $600 off of more than 1 million views every month. For example, my video about Juice WRLD is blocked in multiple European countries and has made me less than $200 in total, despite earning me more than 11,000 subscribers and over 1 million views. This lack of revenue is fundamentally because of YouTube's corrupt copyright system that blocks perfectly legitimate videos with no way around it. Many of my videos are in a similar situation to the Juice WRLD documentary, about half of them in total, leading to thousands of dollars of revenue that goes to people who had nothing to do with the production of these videos. It's really frustrating to work in a broken system, and it's even harder to be part of a platform you have no control over. That's why my friends and I teamed up to build our own platform where creators don't need to worry about demonetization or the algorithm. Our platform is called Nebula, and we're always excited to be partnering with CuriosityStream. Nebula is a place where creators can do what they do best, create. It's a place where we can both house our content ad-free and experiment with content that we just couldn't put on YouTube. My original documentary, A Brief History of Synthesizers, explores the history of synths in popular music. I'm very proud of it, and I think all of my subscribers would really enjoy it. But what does Nebula have to do with CuriosityStream? They really appreciate educational content and creators, so we worked out a deal where if you sign up for CuriosityStream at the link in the description, not only will you get their service, you'll also get a Nebula subscription included for free. And to be clear, that Nebula subscription isn't a trial, it's free for as long as you are a CuriosityStream member. So for a limited time, CuriosityStream is offering 26% off their annual plans. That's less than $15 a year for CuriosityStream and Nebula included for free. So if you click the link in the description, you'll get both CuriosityStream and Nebula for 26% off, or you can go to curiositystream.com/Volksgeist. It's a great way to support this channel and educational content directly for just $14.79 per year. Just click on the link in the description or go to curiositystream.com/Volksgeist. Clicking on the link really helps out this channel.